Hi guys, and welcome back to the series Thunderstorms, written and narrated by Stacey Holt. As always, if you'd like to stay up to date, go ahead and hit that notification button. And if you'd like to support my series, go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And we'll go ahead and get started. Chapter 7, Classroom Secrets. It was Wednesday morning, and their classes were canceled to allow the students to work on their designs for the fashion show. Marinette woke up and received a text from Alia and smiled, pulling out her sewing machine to start making it. She could get it done in time, right? She may have to pull an all-nighter, but she had this. She just couldn't get distracted. Well, that's what she thought until Cat Noir jumped into her bedroom. "Hey, Marinette. I came here since classes were canceled." He smiled, sitting down on her bed, looking at her from afar. Marinette turned around and smiled, but returned back to her designs. "Are you busy?" he said, looking at the poster board that was now hung beside her bed instead of under her mattress. This time, however, it wasn't covered in pictures of Adrian. It was her and her friends and group photos that just so happened to have Adrian in them. There were no single photos of Adrian anymore. "What happened to all the pictures I saw last time?" he asked. "Are you upset that you're not on there?" Marinette turned her head and smirked, seeing Cat Noir a little flustered. No, that's not what I meant. I meant that you just trashed them. Are you mad at me?" he said, jumping off of her bed and walking over to her, leaning on her chair to see what she was working on. "It's all right, Cat. I'm not mad. I thought you were mad at me when you left," Marinette said, not taking her eyes off of her designs that she was sewing together. "I needed time to think. Why didn't you tell me you made a promise to Ladybug then?" he said, sighing, putting his hand on hers to make her stop sewing. Marinette sighed and twirled around in her chair to face him. "I didn't see the point in telling you about it because it didn't matter. I broke that promise, so it wasn't really a promise anymore." Marinette sighed. "Do you still like me?" Marinette turned to face him, mouth open, eyes wide with surprise. Her cheeks started to burn as she looked at him. Her face was serious though, flushed all the same. He was nervous to hear her answer. Marinette stood frozen, unable to think of how to respond. She had always wanted to date him, but would right now be the best time? She knows he still loves Ladybug, and it would feel like lying. She didn't want to start dating him, and the beginning was a lie. "I do, but I'm really stressed out about the fashion show Friday. I'm not even halfway done, and I only have 2 days left," Marinette sighed. "Is that what you're working on?" he asked, sitting down on the chase. Marinette nodded. "Would you want to help me?" Marinette smiled. Cat laughed and nodded, seeing her bring over her sketchbook to write down more information and feedback. "During the fashion show, you're going to be modeling them, right?" she asked, sitting beside him, scribbling. "Yeah, as long as there aren't any feathers," he laughed. "Do you want me to wear your designs? I get to pick one person to model for." "There aren't any feathers this time, but I do need your measurements if you're offering," Marinette laughed. The day went on like any other. Flirtations and banter back and forth as they worked on Marinette's designs until she fell asleep on her table halfway through the night. Cat picked her up and placed her in her bed, smiling as he left for the night. He was happy. He was glad that Marinette found out. He didn't feel like he had to lie to her anymore. He jumped up on the balcony and leaned against the railing overlooking the city. 2 days. 2 days until he would see Ladybug at the fashion show. Who was she? He wanted answers. He knew her in real life, huh? He heard the ringing of the bells in the distance and pulled out his staff to check the time. It was well after 2 a.m. and he groaned as he remembered he had school the next morning. He quickly made his way back home, only to wake up a few hours later. "Adrian, are you feeling all right?" Marinette asked. Adrian turned around and she could see he had bags under his eyes. "I'm fine. I just stayed up a little too late last night," he smiled. "What time did you go to sleep?" Marinette asked, concerned. "Girl, you're stepping up your game. You're having a real conversation with Adrian," Alia whispered in her ear. Marinette giggled and nodded. How could Alia know that they've already kissed? that he spent the night with her. What should she say? How should she act? She didn't know how to act around him. I think I laid down in my bed around 3 a.m. Adrian laughed awkwardly. 3 a.m.? What were you doing? Nino asked, concerned. Adrian looked over at Marinette, whose face was bright red, and his face matched when he looked back at Nina. Wait, no, don't tell me you two were together all night, Alia said. No, of course not. Marinette shook her head, laughing at the very thought. No, we weren't. I was watching videos on my phone and lost track of time. I was also working on some homework. Adrian smiled. Which wasn't a lie. He was helping Marinette with her homework as Cat Noir and did lose track of time. He also texted Marinette goodnight, so he technically was truthful. Why don't we all go do something together tonight then? I know it's a Thursday night, but it's the night before the fashion show. Why not take off some stress? Alia smiled, nudging Marinette in the shoulder with her own. Marinette thought for a moment, trying to think if she had enough time to finish her designs if she did go out with him. Marinette sighed and shook her head. Sorry, Alia, I'm barely halfway done with sewing everything together and perfecting them. Adrian took out his phone and acted as if he was texting his father, but Marinette felt her phone buzz. She looked at it and noticed that Adrian had texted her saying, I can help you catch up tonight. Come on, it'll be fun. Marinette looked at him, smiling at her, and she smiled back. Are you sure? You've been working really hard lately, Alia said, turning to Nino. Well, I guess I could go out for a little. Not too late, though, Marinette smiled. Alia, Nino, and Adrian smiled at one another, agreeing to meet each other around 4:15 after school today at the Rue de Paris. Marinette took out her sketchbook and started to sketch while the teacher started class. Everything was normal until an Akuma appeared near the end of class. Everyone fled the school in safety. Though instead of running away with an excuse, Adrian helped Marinette find a hiding place. Adrian, why aren't you going to fight it? Marinette said as he shoved her inside of a locker. I want to make sure you'll be safe. Stay here and I'll come back for you after. Adrian smiled. Leaning in to give her a kiss on the cheek and smiling, he shut the locker and left without another thought. Marinette's cheek blushed red, but soon snapped out of it when she heard another crash of the nearby Akuma victim. Tiki, spots on! Thank you so much for watching. The next chapter will be available soon. Again, if you'd like to stay up to date, go ahead and hit that notification button, and I'll see you all in the next chapter. Bye guys!